what is
Mhm.
emotional intelligence? And then what have you done to kind of add that to what your suite is? Have you done any certifications or any
Yeah.
research? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So there are a couple of models out there for emotional intelligence, and the one that I like is the EQI 2.0 because it breaks them down into very actionable categories. And a couple of those categories, one of them is, I believe, is stress management and
Mhm.
decision. The other one is decision making. So they're very, very actionable and very easy to understand for people like us, like engineers and technical people, because we know what to do with something like that.
Yeah.
Right, it's not as subjective anymore. So the EQI 2.0 model is what I'm certified on, administering the assessment
Mhm.
and also debriefing on the report results and providing guidance. So, and as far as the program goes, that is one of the things that are key in my program because of that exact same reason. One
Mhm.
of the assessments that we would take would be an emotional intelligence assessment for all the
Mhm.
engineers in the program, and then that helps kind of pinpoint the different areas that they have opportunities for development that will make a
Mhm.
big difference, because that's something else that I didn't have when I was going through the program I did. And eventually you learn, but learning the hard way is very hard. When you learn, that I should have talked that way instead of this way, or I should have managed this situation this way instead of that other way. Um, it's, it, you learn it the hard way, but it would take you longer and it'd be more painful than taking a scientifically validated assessment that kind of gives you an introduction or an idea at least of what those areas are where you may need some improvement, so
Mhm.
that you use that as a tool when you get out there and start interacting more with people and then start discovering more about yourself. It really helps you um, navigate those challenges a lot more effectively.
And I can see a lot of value in that because right, we grow because we get feedback. And you're not always going to get the feedback, right? Sometimes somebody is just
Mhm.
going to take the interaction and they're going to just internalize the way they feel about it. And not everybody is as good of a colleague or coworker to immediately give you feedback in the way that you need to receive it in that moment. So I feel like it's so valuable to have standards and goals and do that internal reflection and have an
Mhm.
idea of what you're working on so that that way you have that framework that you can look back on it. That's the same reason why I do Toastmasters, because I have
Mhm.
that internal framework that I reference back on whenever I speak. Like whenever I say an or an ah or a
Mhm.
in the middle of a conversation, that little bell that somebody annoyingly rings during a Toastmasters meeting is going off in the back of my head. And I imagine that a similar philosophy kind of applies in whenever you're dealing with
The
the
emotional
assessment.
intelligence.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it definitely goes back to awareness,
Mhm.
self-awareness, self-expression, interpersonal relationships, um, decision making, stress tolerance. So those are the five categories of the EQI 2.0 model. So it definitely starts with self-awareness. If are not self-aware, or if you just overlook the importance of self-awareness,
Mhm.
then nothing else is gonna work out. Nothing else is gonna go well, because you may be acting without really being in touch with what you even want to begin with. And when you're
Mhm.
having conversations with people trying to collaborate, you need to know what you want out of that conversation, or
Yeah.
even if it's for a project or whatever that may be. So
Yeah. That's really cool. I'm really glad that you got to share that, and I think that Minett Consulting is such a cool company that you started, and you do some really valuable things. So
Thank you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. Really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.